My fingers ached from scrubbing. 3 hours of polishing mahogany shelves in a library no one ever used, but Sophia demanded perfection. Every surface had to gleam, every book spine aligned. The mansion slept around me, silent except for the occasional creak of old wood settling into itself. I squeezed the rag over the bucket, watching dirty water swirl. Brown mixed with gray, like my life. 2 years in this house, and I was still invisible. Mr. Fontanelli walked past me every morning without a glance, as if I were furniture. Just another Brazilian maid cleaning up after wealthy men who played dangerous games. The window caught my attention. Movement in the garage below, barely visible through the glass. I set down my supplies and moved closer, pressing my forehead against the cool pane. A figure crouched beside the black Maserati. Low to the ground, deliberate movements. Not a guard. Guards walked upright, confident in their territory. This person moved like they were hiding something. My heart kicked against my ribs. I grabbed the flashlight Sophia kept in the supply closet and headed for the stairs. My sneakers made no sound on the marble steps. 2 years of learning how to be silent, how to disappear when the men had their meetings. The garage smelled like expensive leather and motor oil. I clicked on the flashlight, sweeping the beam across the space. The Maserati sat pristine and empty. No figure, no evidence anyone had been there at all. I circled the car anyway, searching. Nothing seemed disturbed. The concrete floor showed no fresh marks, no tools left behind. Maybe I'd imagined it. Too many double shifts. Too many nights sending money home to Mama while she fought cancer half a world away. But something felt wrong. The kind of wrong that lived in your bones. The kind veterinarians learned to trust when an animal couldn't tell you where it hurt. I climbed back upstairs, pulse still elevated. Checked the time. 3:47 in the morning. Another hour before the day shift arrived. Before the mansion woke and demanded its breakfast. Sleep would be impossible now. Morning arrived with Sophia's sharp voice cutting through the kitchen. The silver needs repolishing. Did anyone check the wine cellar inventory? Where is breakfast? I moved mechanically, brewing coffee the way Mr. Fontanelli liked it. Dark roast, no sugar, served at precisely 7:30 when he descended from his private wing. 2 years had taught me his patterns. He was a creature of routine, predictable in ways that probably kept him alive in his world. The other staff bustled around me. Maria setting the table, Carlos bringing in fresh flowers, everyone performing their choreographed roles. I was so tired my hands trembled as I arranged the coffee service on the tray. 7:28. I carried it to the breakfast room, set it on the sideboard. Checked the temperature one last time. Footsteps on the stairs. Heavy, measured. Mr. Fontanelli appeared, immaculate in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than I made in 6 months. Dark hair perfectly styled, that scar above his right eyebrow catching the light. 38 years old, and he commanded space like a king surveying his kingdom. His eyes passed over me without recognition. I might as well have been wallpaper. He poured his own coffee, checking his phone with his free hand. Then his phone rang. He answered in Italian, his voice low and controlled. I understood enough to catch fragments. My grandmother had taught me some phrases, back when I still believed I'd use my veterinary degree for something other than treating neglected guard dogs. Brunarelli, territorio portuario, acabar com isso hoje. Port territory. End this today. His tone shifted, became urgent. Non posso aspettare. Devo arrivare veloce. Can't wait. Must arrive fast. He was already moving toward the door, keys in hand, talking about needing to accelerate before Brunarelli changed his mind, about how delays weren't acceptable. And suddenly, I was back in the garage at 3 a.m, seeing that figure crouched beside his car. The connection hit me like ice water. The shadow, the urgency, the need to arrive fast, to drive quickly, to use the brakes on Miami's crowded streets. Don't start your car! The words ripped from my throat before I could stop them. I was running, dropping the coffee tray, my sneakers slapping against marble as I sprinted after him. Every head turned. Sophia's mouth fell open. The guards materialized from nowhere, hands reaching for weapons concealed under their jackets. Mr. Fontanelli froze in the doorway, his gray-blue eyes finally looking at me. Not through me. At me. What did you say? His voice was deadly quiet. The kind of quiet that came before violence. Don't start your car. My breath came in gasps. Please, something's wrong. Who the hell are you? 2 years. 2 years of brewing his coffee, cleaning his house, and he didn't even know my name. Camilla Fontino. I work here. I clean. Words tumbled out too fast. Last night, 3 a.m, I saw someone by your car, in the garage, crouching down like they were underneath it. I went to check, but they were gone. And you're telling me this now? His hand moved to his jacket. I didn't want to know what he kept there. I wasn't sure. I didn't see anything when I looked. But you just said you need to arrive fast. You need to accelerate, and I thought... You thought what? Sabotage. Your brakes. Or maybe the engine. Something that triggers when you drive, when you need to move quickly through traffic. The silence that followed felt like falling. Everyone stared. Sophia looked like she might faint. The guards had their weapons drawn now, pointed at me because I'd dared to shout at their boss. Mr. Fontanelli studied my face. I could see him processing, calculating, deciding if I was crazy or credible or a threat. Enzo. He didn't take his eyes off me. Get the sweep team. Full analysis of the Maserati. Now. Boss, she's just a maid. She probably... Now, Enzo. The command in his voice made everyone move. Enzo barked orders into his radio. Within minutes, 3 men in tactical gear appeared with equipment I couldn't identify. They swarmed the garage like ants on sugar. Mr. Fontanelli gestured to a chair. Sit. It wasn't a request. My legs folded underneath me, adrenaline giving way to shaking. What had I done? If I was wrong? If I'd imagined the whole thing? I just humiliated him in front of his staff, wasted his time, made him late for whatever deadly meeting he had planned. Mama needed my job, needed the money I sent every month for her treatments. I couldn't afford to be fired, couldn't afford to be wrong. What's your full name? He asked. Camilla Fontino. How long have you worked here? 2 years. And I've never seen you before. Not a question. You see through me every day, Mr. Fontanelli. I'm invisible. That's how you like your staff. Something flickered in his expression. Not quite shame, but close. Before he could respond, Enzo burst back into the room, his scarred face pale. Boss. She's right. There's a device under the chassis. Sophisticated work. Pressure activated. The second you hit the brakes, he didn't finish. Didn't need to. Mr. Fontanelli's jaw tightened. His eyes found mine again. But this time they held something different. Not dismissal. Recognition. You just saved my life, Camilla Fontino. And I realized with terrible certainty that my invisible life had just ended. For better or worse, Matteo Fontanelli finally saw me. His office smelled like leather and old books. Expensive things. Carefully maintained. I sat in a chair that probably cost more than my entire apartment's furniture combined, hands folded in my lap to stop them from shaking. The mansion had transformed into a fortress. Guards everywhere, weapons no longer concealed. Men in tactical gear swarmed through hallways I'd cleaned 1,000 times, speaking into radios with clipped urgency. The bomb squad had cordoned off the garage like a crime scene, because it was a crime scene. Someone had tried to kill Matteo Fontanelli, and I'd accidentally stopped them. He stood by the window, back to me, phone pressed to his ear, speaking Italian too rapidly for me to follow. His shoulders were tense beneath that perfect suit, jaw tight when he finally turned around. Why were you awake at 3 a.m? Direct. No preamble. Those gray-blue eyes pinned me to the chair. I work double shifts. Night cleaning pays extra. I send money home to Brazil every month. 4? My mother. She has cancer. Stage 3. The treatments. I swallowed. They're expensive. Something flickered across his face. Not quite sympathy. Calculation, maybe. Processing information. Filing it away. Why didn't you report what you saw immediately? I checked the garage. There was nothing there, no evidence. I thought maybe I'd imagined it. Too many late nights. Not enough sleep. I met his stare. Would you have believed me if I'd woken you at 4 a.m. with a story about shadows? His mouth twitched. Almost a smile. Probably not. I didn't have proof, just a feeling. And feelings don't mean much when you're... I gestured at myself, at my rumpled uniform, at everything I represented in his world. When you're nobody, you're not nobody. He moved to his desk, pressed a button on the intercom. Enzo, I need a complete background check. Camilla Fontino. Everything. Employment history, education, family, finances. I want it in an hour. My stomach dropped. What? Why? Because someone just tried to kill me using a sophisticated device that requires planning and access. Because you're the only person who saw anything. Because I need to know who you are. I'm not involved. I swear. I would never... I know. He cut me off. If you were involved, you wouldn't have warned me. You'd have let me drive away and collected whatever payment Brunarelli offered. But I don't take chances with my life or my organization, so I verify, understand? I nodded, throat tight. Of course he'd investigate. Of course he couldn't just trust the random maid who'd screamed at him in front of his entire staff. The intercom buzzed. Enzo's voice, rough and urgent. Boss, message from Brunarelli. He's claiming credit. Matteo's expression went cold. The kind of cold that made me understand exactly how dangerous he was, how carefully controlled his civility had been until now. Send it to my phone. He looked at the screen, jaw working. Then he handed it to me. The message was in Italian, but short enough for me to parse. Did you like my gift, Fontanelli? Next time I won't be so elegant. The war you wanted starts now. I set the phone down carefully. Who is Brunarelli? Someone who's about to learn what happens when you make this personal. The way he said it sent ice down my spine. I'd lived in this house for 2 years, cleaned bloodstains out of carpets I wasn't supposed to notice, heard screams from rooms I was never allowed to enter. But I'd never seen Matteo Fontanelli angry before. Not really. Now I understood why everyone feared him. She looked terrified. Good. She should be afraid. Fear meant respect, meant understanding the gravity of what she'd stumbled into. But she'd also saved my life. That meant something. In my world, loyalty was currency. Action without expectation of reward was rarer than diamonds. My phone buzzed. Enzo's report, faster than I'd expected. I scanned it quickly, absorbing details. Camilla Fontino, 28, born in São Paulo, Brazil. Veterinary degree from University of São Paulo, graduated with honors. Immigrated to the United States 3 years ago on a work visa. No criminal record. Mother, Ana Fontino, stage 3 breast cancer, currently receiving treatment in Brazil. Medical debts exceeding $200,000. I kept reading. She'd worked at the mansion for exactly 2 years and 3 months. Before that, 3 different cleaning jobs, never staying anywhere longer than 6 months. Sent 80% of every paycheck home to Brazil. No savings, no assets, no life beyond work and survival. Sundays, volunteer work at a community center in Little Havana. Teaching English, helping with paperwork, translating for immigrants who couldn't navigate the system alone. A veterinarian working as a maid. A daughter sacrificing everything for her mother. A woman who gave her free time to help strangers. And I'd walked past her every morning for 2 years without seeing her. Your mother, I said, setting down the phone. How long has she been sick? Camilla's eyes widened. You already have my life story? I told you. I verify everything. Answer the question. 3 years. That's why I came here. Better jobs, better money. I thought I could pay for her treatment, maybe even bring her here eventually. Her voice cracked. But it's never enough. The bills keep coming. I made a decision. Quick, instinctive. The kind that usually served me well. Your salary is doubled as of today, and I'm adding a comprehensive medical benefits package. It includes coverage for family members abroad. Your mother qualifies. She stared at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. What? You saved my life. That's worth more than money, but money is what you need. So that's what you get. I can't accept charity. It's not charity. It's payment for services rendered. You're more observant than my entire security team. That has value. Tears filled her green eyes. She blinked them back furiously, pride warring with relief on her face. "Thank you." I nodded, uncomfortable with her gratitude. Generosity wasn't natural to me. In my world, everything was transactional, but this felt different. She'd acted out of pure instinct, moral courage that couldn't be bought. That made her dangerous, not to me, to Brunarelli. "You can't go home," I said. "Not until we determine if Brunarelli knows who you are. If he had an accomplice who saw you in the garage, you're a target." Fear replaced gratitude. "For how long?" "However long it takes to secure the situation." "You'll stay here. Guest wing, not the staff quarters. Enzo will assign personal security. My apartment, my things, we'll retrieve them. Make a list of what you need. Documents, medications, whatever. My men will escort you there tomorrow to collect everything essential." She opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. Smart woman. She understood the reality faster than most. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. "Now?" I moved to the window, looked out at the grounds where my men patrolled with automatic weapons. "Now I end this war before it begins." Brunarelli made a mistake. He showed his hand too early, and he failed. That weakness will cost him everything. I didn't tell her the rest. That she'd become a piece on the board whether she wanted to or not. That by saving me, she'd painted a target on her own back. That I would protect her because she was mine now. My responsibility. My asset. My problem to solve. And I always solved my problems. 3 days of living in luxury felt like wearing someone else's skin. The guest wing had marble floors, a bathroom bigger than my entire apartment, and sheets that cost more than my monthly salary. I couldn't sleep in that bed without thinking about Mama in her hospital room in São Paulo, tubes running into her arms while I bathed in unearned comfort. Enzo knocked at 7 in the morning. "Boss wants you ready in 20 minutes. We're getting your things from the apartment." I dressed quickly, pulling on jeans and a sweater Sophia had lent me. My own clothes were still at the apartment, along with everything else that made up my small life. Photos of Mama, my veterinary textbooks, the cross grandmother gave me before she died. The convoy was excessive. 3 black SUVs, 8 armed men, Enzo driving the lead vehicle with me in the back seat. Matteo sat beside me, silent and focused, checking his phone with that perpetual frown. "This seems like a lot for picking up some clothes," I said. He didn't look up. "Brunarelli knows I didn't die. He'll be looking for weak points to exploit." "You're a weak point. Thanks for that. It's not an insult. It's a fact." He finally met my eyes. "You saved my life. That makes you visible. Visibility in my world is dangerous." We drove through neighborhoods I knew well. Little Havana with its bright murals and cafes, the streets where I'd walked home after late shifts, counting tips and calculating how much I could send to Brazil. My apartment building appeared ahead, shabby and familiar. Enzo's radio crackled. A voice, urgent and clipped. He answered in rapid Italian, his face going hard. Matteo swore softly. "We have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The kind where someone in my organization has been feeding information to Brunarelli." His jaw clenched. "They know where you live. They know we're coming." Before I could process that, Enzo was shouting orders. The convoy screeched to a halt half a block from my building. Men poured out of vehicles, weapons drawn, moving with practiced precision toward positions I couldn't identify. "Stay in the car," Matteo commanded. "Lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone except Enzo or me." Then he was gone, moving with his men toward my building. I pressed against the window, heart hammering. This couldn't be happening. This was my quiet neighborhood, my boring life, my anonymous existence. Gunfire shattered that delusion. The sound was deafening. Muzzle flashes from my apartment building windows, from the rooftop, from positions I couldn't track. Matteo's men returned fire, using vehicles as cover. I saw Enzo drop and roll behind a concrete barrier, heard him shouting coordinates into his radio. Then the grenade. A flash of light. A sound that felt like God punching the earth. The entire 3rd floor of my building exploded outward. My apartment. My things. Everything I owned that wasn't on my body right now, gone in fire and smoke and shattered glass raining down like deadly snow. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only watch as Mateo's men advanced through the chaos, executing a choreographed violence I didn't have words for. It was over in 7 minutes. 7 minutes that felt like hours. 7 minutes that left 4 bodies on the street, all of them Brunarelli's men. None of Mateo's. Enzo pulled open my door. We're leaving. Now. I stumbled out on shaking legs. Mateo appeared, blood on his hands, but none of it his. He grabbed my arm, not roughly, but with urgency that brooked no argument. Can you walk? I nodded, mute. Then walk fast. Back at the mansion, I sat in the guest wing bathroom and vomited. Everything I'd eaten that morning came up, along with terror I couldn't name. Sophia appeared with water and wet towels, her weathered face sympathetic but unsurprised. First time seeing the real world. Yes, that wasn't the real world. That was hell. For men like Mateo, they're the same thing. She pressed the cool towel to my forehead. You should rest. I can't. I need to. What? There was nothing left to do. My apartment was rubble. My possessions were ash. I existed now in the clothes on my back, and the debt I owed to a man who killed people before lunch. A commotion downstairs pulled me from the spiral. Shouting. Not panic, but anger. Controlled fury that was somehow worse. I found Sophia on the landing, watching the scene below. In the mansion's entrance hall, Mateo stood with a man forced to his knees. I recognized the man. Luca, one of the security team. He'd been friendly, always nodding hello when I passed. Now he was bleeding from his mouth, hands bound behind his back. Mateo spoke in Italian. I caught enough to understand. Traitor. Sold us out. Told Brunarelli everything. Luca pleaded, tears on his face, words tumbling out. He had debts, family threatened. He hadn't wanted to betray the family, had no choice. Mateo listened. Then he pulled a gun from inside his jacket. Don't look, Sophia whispered. I looked anyway. The shot was clean. 1 bullet. Luca's body crumpled. And then there was silence except for my own ragged breathing. Mateo holstered his weapon, spoke to his men, who moved to remove the body. Then his eyes found mine across the distance. No apology, no regret. Just cold acknowledgement that I'd witnessed what I'd witnessed. I ran back to my room and locked the door. Hours later, Sophia found me on the balcony. I'd stopped shaking, but the image wouldn't leave. Luca's face. The moment before. The moment after. He was family. Sophia said quietly, standing beside me. Luca. His mother and Mateo's mother were cousins. Mateo knew him his entire life. Then how could he? Because betrayal of blood is the worst sin in our world. Worse than stealing. Worse than murder. Luca gave our enemies access to this house, to Mateo's life, to you. He knew the rules, knew the consequences. There has to be another way. Prison, exile, something that doesn't end in execution. Sophia's expression was sad. In Mateo's world, mercy is death. Show weakness, and others will exploit it. Spare 1 traitor and 10 more appear. It's brutal, but it keeps the rest alive. I wanted to argue, wanted to believe she was wrong. But I'd seen the aftermath of my apartment. Brunarelli had sent men to kill me, to use me as leverage against Mateo. In that world, what was mercy worth? The next days blurred together. I stayed mostly in my rooms, venturing out only for meals I couldn't eat. The mansion felt like a beautiful prison, every window a reminder that outside was a war I'd accidentally joined. Until I heard the whimpering. One of Mateo's German shepherds limping badly in the courtyard. I watched from the window as guards walked past without noticing. The dog, massive and scarred, dragged his left rear leg with every step. My veterinary instincts kicked in before my brain caught up. I was moving, heading downstairs into the courtyard where morning sun turned everything gold. The dog saw me coming and tensed. Attack trained, probably, but also in pain. I slowed, reading his body language. Approached from the side, not head-on. Spoke in Portuguese, the language of my grandmother who'd taught me how to talk to animals. Easy boy, easy. I just want to help. It took 15 minutes of patient work, but eventually he let me touch him. My hands found the problem immediately. Hip dysplasia, advanced and untreated. He'd been compensating for months, maybe years. The joint was inflamed, probably agonizing with every movement. I was so focused I didn't hear Matteo approach until he spoke. "You're good with him." I looked up. He stood 10 feet away, watching with those calculating eyes. "He's in pain. Has been for a long time. The dysplasia in his hip is severe." I continued my examination, feeling the dog relax under practiced hands. Whoever's been treating him missed the diagnosis. They probably thought it was just arthritis. "You can tell that by touching him?" "I can tell that because I spent 4 years learning exactly this." The words came out sharper than intended. "I'm a veterinarian, Mr. Fontanelli. A real one, with a degree in everything. Not just a maid who got lucky spotting shadows." Something shifted in his expression. Not surprise. He'd already read my file. But appreciation, maybe. Recognition. "Can you help him? I can create a treatment plan. Anti-inflammatories, specific exercises, possibly supplements. He'll never be pain-free, but we can make him comfortable." I stroked the dog's head. "What's his name?" "Dante. Dante deserves better than suffering in silence." Matteo moved closer, crouched beside us. Dante's tail wagged once, recognizing his master. "Show me what he needs." We spent the next hour in the courtyard, me demonstrating gentle stretches, explaining the physiology, describing modifications to his diet and exercise routine. Matteo listened with absolute focus, asking questions that proved he wasn't just humoring me. When we finished, Dante was resting comfortably in the shade, medication already administered from the mansion's extensive medical supplies. "You miss it," Matteo said. Not a question. "Every day. I thought I was giving it up temporarily, just until Mama was well. But temporary became permanent, and now I clean houses instead of saving lives. Because you love your mother. Because I'm all she has. My father left when I was 12. No siblings, no extended family with money. Just me and her." I met his stare. "So yes, I gave up my career, but I didn't give up who I am." He was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was different. Lower. More human. 3 days ago, you saw me kill a man. I saw you execute someone who betrayed you. And you think I'm a monster. I think you're a man who believes violence is the only language that matters. But I don't think you're right." His eyes narrowed. "Explain. Luca betrayed you because he was afraid. Fear breeds desperation. If your world is built entirely on fear, you'll always have traitors waiting for the first sign of weakness. But if you built something else..." I trailed off, recognizing the futility. "Built what? Hope? Compassion?" His laugh was bitter. "I tried that once. My wife believed in mercy, in finding peaceful solutions. Then Brunarelli's predecessor killed her to teach me a lesson about weakness. So no, Camilla. In my world, strength is survival. And strength means making sure everyone knows exactly what happens when they cross me." The pain in his voice surprised me. Hidden beneath layers of control, but real. He wasn't just a monster. He was a man who'd been taught that monsters were the only ones who survived. "I'm sorry about your wife. Everyone's sorry. Sorry doesn't bring her back. Power does. Fear does. Strength keeps the people I care about alive." "And who do you care about?" The question slipped out. "When was the last time you let yourself care about anything that wasn't strategy or survival?" He stood abruptly. For a moment I thought I'd gone too far, that he'd dismiss me or worse. Instead, he looked at me with something that might have been loneliness. "That's a dangerous question, Camilla Fontino." Then he walked away, leaving me with Dante and the terrible understanding that Matteo Fontanelli wasn't just my protector or my employer. He was a man drowning in the same isolation I knew too well. And neither of us knew how to reach the surface. Sophia held up the dress like it might bite. Navy blue silk, simple cut, probably cost more than I used to make in 3 months. "It will fit you. Matteo wants you ready in an hour." "Ready for what?" "A meeting, with the other families." Her expression was grim. "You're his witness now. His proof that Brunarelli tried to kill him." My hands trembled as I zipped the dress. It fit perfectly, hugging curves I usually hid under baggy uniforms. I looked like someone else in the mirror. Someone who belonged in Matteo's world of power and violence disguised as elegance. I didn't recognize her. The estate where the meeting took place made Matteo's mansion look modest. Marble columns, fountains with actual gold leaf, gardens lit by thousands of tiny lights. Men in expensive suits stood in clusters, speaking languages I couldn't place. Their women wore diamonds that could fund a small hospital. I felt like a fraud in borrowed silk. Matteo's hand found the small of my back as we entered. Stay close. Don't speak unless someone addresses you directly. If anyone asks about the bomb, tell the truth. Nothing more, nothing less. 5 families. That's what Enzo had explained in the car. 5 organizations that controlled different territories in Miami and beyond, meeting on neutral ground to discuss the attempted assassination of one of their own. The dining room was obscene in its luxury. Crystal chandeliers, china that looked like it belonged in a museum, servers moving with choreographed precision. I was seated beside Matteo at a long table, acutely aware of every eye assessing me, judging me, wondering what a woman like me was doing in a place like this. The meal began with polite conversation. Business discussed in careful euphemisms, territories and agreements mentioned like they were discussing the weather. I picked at food I couldn't taste, trying to disappear into the chair. Then the doors opened. Salvatore Brunarelli walked in like he owned the room. Older than I'd imagined, maybe 50, with silver hair and a smile that never reached his cold eyes. He was escorted by men from the Versiani family, guests by arrangement I didn't understand. The temperature dropped 10 degrees. Matteo's hand found mine under the table. Squeezed once, a warning. Stay calm, stay quiet. Brunarelli took a seat directly across from us. His gaze swept over me, lingering with deliberate assessment. Then he smiled. Matteo, I heard you had a close call recently. How fortunate that you survived. His English was perfect, accent making every word sound cultured. And who is this lovely creature? Surely not the maid who saved your life. Silence fell. Everyone watching, waiting. Her name is not your concern, Matteo said quietly. Oh, but it is my concern. When someone interferes with my business, I make it my business to know everything about them. Brunarelli leaned forward. Camilla Fontino, 28, from Sao Paulo originally. Veterinarian by training, though she's been scrubbing toilets for the past 2 years. How the mighty have fallen. Heat flooded my face. How did he know all that? Her mother is dying, you know, Brunarelli continued, addressing the table now, not me. Cancer. Stage 3. The treatments must be terribly expensive. I imagine dear Camilla here would do just about anything for the money to keep her mother alive. Anything at all. Enough. Matteo's voice was steel. I'm simply stating facts. This woman is desperate. Desperate people are unpredictable, unreliable. They'll say whatever they need to say, align themselves with whoever pays the most. How do you know she didn't set up the entire bomb situation herself? A convenient way to get noticed by a wealthy, powerful man? My breath caught. The accusation hung in the air, poisonous and deliberate. Faces around the table showed calculation, doubt creeping in. Was this desperate Brazilian maid trustworthy, or was she playing a deeper game? Or perhaps, Brunarelli said, voice dripping false sympathy, she's simply a tool. A prop Matteo is using to garner sympathy, to justify whatever retaliation he's planning. Either way, she's just a maid, a nobody. Disposable. That word, disposable. Like I was garbage, something to be used and discarded. Matteo stood. The movement was so sudden, so controlled in its violence, that everyone froze. You will not speak about her again. Or what? Brunarelli smiled. You'll threaten me in front of witnesses? In neutral territory? That's beneath you, Matteo. Listen carefully. All of you. Matteo's voice filled the room. Camilla Fontino is under my personal protection. Not as an employee. Not as a witness. As someone I have claimed. Anyone who harms her, threatens her, or speaks about her with disrespect answers to me. This is not negotiable. This is not temporary. This is permanent. The words landed like bombs. I saw the reactions, the understanding dawning. In their world, such a declaration meant something specific. It meant I wasn't just protected, I was his. Part of his territory, his assets, his world in a way that changed everything. Brunarelli's smile widened. How fascinating. You've made this personal, Matteo. That's always a mistake. The mistake was yours. Trying to kill me. Failing. And now insulting what's mine. What's mine? The possessiveness should have angered me. Instead, it felt like armor. We left before dessert. Matteo's hand on my back, guiding me through rooms that blurred together. I couldn't stop shaking. Humiliation and anger warring in my chest. In the car, silence stretched between us. Enzo drove, eyes carefully on the road. I'm sorry. Matteo's voice was low. I underestimated him. I thought bringing you would solidify my position, prove the assassination attempt was real. I didn't think he'd destroy me in front of everyone. My voice broke. Make me sound like a desperate whore who'd do anything for money? You're not, and anyone with a brain knows that. Do they? Or do they think exactly what he suggested? That I'm using you or you're using me, and either way I'm nothing but a tool? He reached for my face, fingers hovering near my cheek. For a heartbeat, I thought he'd touch me. Then he pulled back, jaw tight. You deserve better than this. Better than my world, my enemies, my wars. You should be saving animals in Brazil, living a normal life where men like Brunarelli don't even know you exist. But they do know I exist now. Because of you. Because of me. He agreed. The pain in his voice surprised me. I've painted a target on you that won't disappear even if you leave. You're marked now. By your association with me. By the choice you made to warn me. There's no going back to invisible. The truth of it settled like lead in my stomach. He was right. I could never go back to being nobody. The forgettable maid no one noticed. I'd saved Matteo Fontanelli's life, and that action had consequences I was only beginning to understand. When we reached the mansion, I went straight to my room, stripped off the borrowed dress, threw it in a corner, stood under a shower hot enough to scald, trying to wash away the humiliation. I was toweling my hair when my phone rang. Mama's number. Mãe? My voice cracked. Camilla, minha filha. She was crying. Happy, crying. The doctor called. I'm being transferred. To Miami. To a hospital called Blackwell. They said there's an experimental treatment, that it might save my life. They said everything is paid for. Everything is arranged. How is this possible? My hand tightened on the phone. What? They said a benefactor made arrangements. They wouldn't tell me who. But Camilla, this is a miracle. I'm coming to you. I get to see you and maybe I get to live. I ended the call in a daze. Walked to Matteo's office without thinking, without planning. He was there, of course, at his desk, studying reports with that intense focus. I didn't knock. You had no right. The words came out strangled. You had no right to make that decision without asking me. He looked up, unsurprised. I had every right. That's my mother. My life. You don't get to just arrange things without my permission. I don't ask permission to protect what's mine, Camilla. The word stopped me cold. What's mine? Again. That claiming. I'm not yours. Aren't you? He stood, moved around the desk. You're living in my house, under my protection, targeted by my enemies because you saved my life. You're mine whether you want to be or not. That doesn't give you the right to. It gives me every right. Your mother was dying in Brazil, while you worked yourself to exhaustion, trying to save her with money you'd never have enough of. I have the resources. I have the connections. I can give her a chance she wouldn't have otherwise. So I did. I'd do it again. Fury and something else tangled in my chest. You're arrogant. You're controlling. You think money solves everything. Money solves most things. But that's not why I did it. He was close now. Close enough that I could see the intensity in those gray-blue eyes. I did it because I watched you sacrifice everything for her. Because you deserve to have someone fight for you the way you fight for everyone else. Because every time I see you exhausted from double shifts, sending money to Brazil instead of keeping it for yourself, I want to fix it. So I did. My breath caught. Why? Why do you care? That's a dangerous question, Camilla Fontino. We stood there, the space between us charged with everything unsaid. He'd claimed me publicly, arranged my mother's care without permission, made decisions that changed my entire life because he decided I was his to protect. I should have been furious, should have walked away, demanded boundaries, insisted on independence. Instead, I whispered, "Thank you." His expression shifted. Surprise, maybe. Relief. Something that looked almost like vulnerability. "She'll be here in 3 days. The oncologist is the best in the country. If anyone can save her, it's him." I nodded, unable to speak past the emotion clogging my throat. As I turned to leave, his voice stopped me. "Camilla, what Brunarelli said tonight, about you being disposable. He's wrong. You're the least disposable person I've ever met. And somehow, coming from a man who commanded empires through fear, those words meant everything." The explosion came at dawn. I woke to the sound of shattering glass and automatic gunfire. My brain, still foggy with sleep, couldn't process what was happening. Then Sophia was in my room, dragging me from bed with strength that belied her age. "Move. Now. Don't think. Just run." We were in the hallway when the second explosion hit. The east wing, closer this time. The entire mansion shook, pictures falling from walls, plaster dust raining from the ceiling. Matteo appeared from nowhere, gun in hand, blood already on his shirt. Not his blood, I realized with distant clarity. Someone else's. "Safe room, both of you." His voice was commander-level calm, despite the chaos erupting around us. "Enzo has the route secured." Like hell, the words came from some primal part of me that refused to hide while people died. "I'm not hiding in a panic room while your men bleed out. Camilla, this isn't negotiable. Neither am I." Another burst of gunfire, closer now. Matteo swore, grabbed my arm, half dragged me toward the reinforced corridor that led to the safe room. Sophia ran ahead, surprisingly fast for a woman pushing 60. We were 20 feet from safety when I heard the scream. One of the guards. Young guy named Marco, who always smiled when I passed. He was on the ground in the entrance hall, clutching his abdomen, blood everywhere, pooling beneath him like spilled wine. I broke free from Matteo's grip and ran. "Camilla, no!" But I was already sliding to my knees beside Marco, hands pressing against the wound. Exit wound in his back, through and through. Abdominal cavity compromised. I'd seen this before, in veterinary trauma cases. The principles were the same whether the patient had 2 legs or 4. Pressure. I need something for pressure. My voice sounded distant, clinical. Training kicking in over terror. Enzo appeared with a first aid kit. I ripped it open, finding gauze, medical tape. Not enough, but something. Marco was gasping, eyes wide with shock and pain. "Stay with me," I told him. "Look at me. Don't look at the blood, look at my face." His eyes found mine. Young, maybe 25. Someone's son. I worked fast, packed the wound, applied pressure exactly where it needed to be, elevated his legs to counteract shock, monitored his pulse, his breathing, the color of his lips. Everything I'd learned treating animals, adapted on the fly to save a human life. The gunfire continued. Matteo and his men returned fire from positions around the hall. A choreographed violence I couldn't pay attention to. My entire world narrowed to Marco's vitals, his breathing, keeping him alive until proper medical help arrived. Enzo crouched beside me. "You know what you're doing?" "I'm a veterinarian." "Close enough." I met his scarred face. "He needs a hospital. Now. The bleeding's controlled, but he's lost too much blood. Medics are 3 minutes out. Can you keep him stable? I'll keep him breathing." Those 3 minutes felt like hours. My hands cramped from maintaining pressure. Blood soaked through my clothes, sticky and warm. Marco drifted in and out of consciousness. And every time his eyes closed, I talked louder, demanded he stay present. "You've got a girlfriend, Marco? Tell me about her." He mumbled something. "Anna. Her name was Anna. What's she like?" "Pretty, smart, wants to be a teacher. Then you've got to stay alive so you can marry her. You hearing me? Anna needs you to stay alive." His grip on my hand tightened. Agreement. Promise. The paramedicine burst through. professional and efficient. They took over, working with practiced speed. One of them looked at my improvised bandaging, the positioning, and nodded respect. Good work. You saved his life. Then they were gone, racing Marco to the hospital through streets I hoped were clear of whatever war had just erupted in Matteo's home. I stood there shaking. Blood covered my hands, my pajamas, probably my face. The gunfire had stopped. Bodies littered the entrance hall, all of them Brunarelli's men. None of Matteo's, except Marco. And he was going to survive. Matteo appeared in front of me. His eyes swept over me, cataloging the blood, the shock starting to set in. Are you hurt? I shook my head. Couldn't speak. Adrenaline was draining away, leaving hollow terror in its wake. He pulled me against him without asking, arms coming around me like he could shield me from what I'd just witnessed. I should have resisted. Should have maintained distance. Instead, I buried my face in his chest and breathed. He smelled like gunpowder and something darker, but his heartbeat was steady. Real. Alive. You shouldn't have run toward the danger, he said quietly. Someone had to. That's not your job. Then whose job is it? Watching people bleed out because I'm too scared to help? He pulled back enough to look at me. Blood streaked his face, a cut above his eyebrow dripping steadily. I reached up without thinking, pressing my hand to the wound. You're hurt. It's nothing. It's bleeding. Sit. To my surprise, he obeyed. Sank into a chair while I examined the cut with hands that still trembled. Not deep, but head wounds bled impressively. I used gauze from a scattered first aid kit, cleaned it, applied pressure. His eyes never left my face. Where did you learn that? He asked. The trauma response. That wasn't just veterinary school. My grandmother, she was a nurse in São Paulo during bad years. Taught me field medicine when I was 12. Said everyone should know how to keep someone alive when proper doctors weren't available. The memory brought unexpected tears. She'd be horrified I was using it in a mansion, not a village. She'd be proud. You were fearless. I was terrified. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it. His hand covered mine where I still pressed the gauze. You could have hidden in the safe room. Should have. But you ran toward the screaming instead. Habit. Veterinarians don't get to wait for permission in emergencies. An animal is dying, you move, you act. You don't think about danger or consequences, you just do what needs to be done. Something shifted in his expression. Understanding, maybe. Recognition of a kindred drive. That's what I saw in you. From the beginning. His voice was rough. That instinct to act when everyone else freezes. It's rare, dangerous, and completely remarkable. The space between us felt charged. Electric. His hand still covered mine, his eyes holding me in place more effectively than any order. Then Enzo's voice cut through the moment. Boss, perimeter's secure. 17 hostiles down. None escaped. We're clear. Matteo stood, reluctantly breaking the connection. Casualties on our side? Marco's the only critical. 3 minor injuries already treated. We got lucky. Luck had nothing to do with it. Preparation did. He glanced at me. And having a veterinarian who doesn't know when to run away. I should have felt insulted. Instead, I felt seen. The next hours blurred. Police arrived but didn't enter. A peculiar dance I didn't understand. Cleanup crews materialized from nowhere, efficient and silent. By noon, the mansion looked untouched except for boarded windows and new security stations. I found Matteo in his office, staring at surveillance footage. The attack had been coordinated, professional. 20 men with military-grade weapons, hitting simultaneously from 3 points. Brunarelli? I asked from the doorway. Who else? He didn't look away from the screens. This was retaliation for the dinner, for me claiming you publicly. He's making a point. What point? That he can reach me anywhere, that nowhere is safe, that everyone I care about is vulnerable. Everyone I care about. The words hung heavy. I moved into the room, closed the door behind me, stood in front of his desk until he had to look at me. I'm still here, I said quietly. He tried. He failed. I'm still here. This time. Next time, luck might run out. Then we make sure there is no next time. He stood, came around the desk. You don't understand what you're saying. This doesn't end, Camilla. Men like Brunarelli, they don't stop. They escalate. He'll keep coming, keep trying, until one of us is dead. Then make it him. You hate violence. You said mercy was strength, remember? I said that before he tried to kill you in your own home. Before he put Marco in the hospital. Before I had to keep a 25-year-old alive with field medicine because your enemy decided I'm an acceptable casualty. My voice shook. I don't want mercy for Brunarelli anymore. I want him stopped. Matteo's eyes searched mine. You mean that? Every word. He reached for me then. Slow, giving me time to pull away. When I didn't, his hand cupped my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone. You're covered in blood and plaster dust, and you're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. My breath caught. Matteo, I told myself to keep distance, to protect you by not letting this become personal. But it's too late. It became personal the moment you screamed at me not to start my car, maybe even before that. In all those mornings you poured my coffee and I was too blind to see you. You see me now. I see you. I can't stop seeing you. His forehead touched mine, and that terrifies me more than Brunarelli ever could. I closed the distance, kissed him with everything I'd been holding back. Weeks of tension and fear and connection I didn't have words for. He responded instantly, one hand in my hair, the other pulling me closer. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, consuming. Two people who'd looked at death and chosen life instead. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes held questions. My room or yours? I whispered. Mine. It's more secure. Even in this, he thought about protection. It should have annoyed me. Instead, it made me want him more. We barely made it to his suite. Clothes discarded between kisses, hands mapping territory that had existed only in stolen glances before. He was careful despite the urgency, checking that I wanted this, wanted him, wanted all the complications that came with crossing this line. I answered by pulling him down to me. Afterward, wrapped in sheets that cost more than my former rent, his arm around me like a shield. I felt the magnitude of what we'd done. Not the physical act, the choice. I'd chosen him, his world, his wars, all of it. No going back now. He murmured against my hair, reading my thoughts. Did you want to go back? No. But I wanted you to have the option. I turned to face him. I saved your life because it was right. I'm staying because I want to. Those are separate choices. Are they? His finger traced patterns on my shoulder. You're here because of that morning in the garage. Everything stems from that moment. Maybe. Or maybe I was always going to end up here, and the bomb was just the catalyst. I pressed my palm against his chest, feeling his heartbeat. Do you believe in fate? I believe in cause and effect, action and consequence. He caught my hand, brought it to his lips. But if fate brought you into my life, then fate has better timing than I credited. Outside, guards patrolled, enemies plotted, wars waited to be fought. But in that moment, wrapped in each other, we allowed ourselves to believe in something other than survival. We allowed ourselves to believe in us. The morning after changed everything. I woke in Matteo's bed, sheets tangled around us, sunlight streaming through bulletproof windows. For a moment, it felt normal. Then I remembered where I was, who he was, what we'd become. Sophia's expression when I appeared for breakfast told me the entire household knew. Not judgment exactly, but calculation. The maid was sleeping with the boss. Power dynamics had shifted in ways I couldn't fully comprehend yet. Matteo didn't hide it. His hand on my back as we walked through the house, casual possession that made his men avert their eyes respectfully. I'd gone from invisible to untouchable overnight. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like a target. 3 days into our new reality, Enzo burst into the study where Matteo was teaching me how his security systems worked. His scarred face was pale, jaw tight. Boss, package arrived. You need to see this. The video played on Matteo's laptop. I wished I hadn't watched. A man tied to a chair, face swollen from beatings. Brunarelli's voice off camera, calm and conversational, asking questions about Matteo's operations, his roots, his weaknesses. The man, one of Matteo's low-level informants, refused to answer. What followed made me turn away, bile rising in my throat. When the video ended, Brunarelli appeared on camera. Smiled. Your turn, Fontanelli. Port territory, all of it, or this becomes everyone you care about. You have 72 hours. Then the war becomes total. Matteo closed the laptop with controlled violence. Get me Enzo, Victor, and Paolo. War room, now. I followed him. He didn't stop me. The war room was exactly what it sounded like. Maps of Miami spread across a massive table, red pins marking Brunarelli's known locations, blue pins for Fontanelli territory. The port area was contested ground, dozens of pins in both colors. 6 men stood around the table, all hardened by years in Matteo's organization. They looked at me with confusion when I entered, then at Matteo for clarification. She stays, was all he said. Enzo laid out the plan. 3 simultaneous strikes on Brunarelli's warehouses near the port. Heavy force, overwhelming violence, send a message so brutal no one would question Fontanelli power again. Estimated casualties? Matteo asked. 30 to 40 hostiles, maybe more. Civilian risk? Enzo hesitated. The south warehouse backs onto worker housing. If we go in heavy like we need to, collateral damage is probable. Collateral damage. People. Families. Dock workers who had nothing to do with this war except the misfortune of living near it. Acceptable, Matteo said, and I saw the moment he became the man who'd executed Luca. Cold, calculating, willing to sacrifice anything for victory. The meeting continued. Tactical details, timing, contingencies. I stayed silent, watching, learning a language I'd never wanted to speak. When they finally left, I turned to Matteo. You can't do this. I can. I will. Those workers, the families in that housing, they're not part of this. They're in the way. War doesn't care about innocence, Camilla. But you should. I moved closer, forcing him to look at me. You just made love to me 3 days ago, and now you're planning mass murder like it's a business transaction. It is a business transaction. Brunarelli made demands. I'm answering. This is what my world looks like without the silk sheets and expensive wine. There has to be another way. There isn't, but his voice held doubt. Small, but present. I thought about Little Havana, the community center where I'd spent Sundays teaching English, helping immigrants navigate systems designed to exclude them. The network of invisible people who kept Miami running, while the wealthy and powerful never noticed they existed. What if there was? His eyes narrowed. Explain. You need intelligence on Brunarelli. Locations, routines, vulnerabilities. Your formal surveillance has gaps because his men know what to look for, who to avoid. I'm aware, but they don't look for the janitors, the delivery drivers, the maintenance workers, the people who clean his offices and restock his warehouses and fix his plumbing. I pulled up a chair, sat at his war table. I know people. Brazilians, Haitians, Venezuelans. They work at the docks, in the warehouses, everywhere you need eyes. They're invisible to men like Brunarelli. Matteo was quiet, processing. You want to recruit civilians. I want to offer them good money for information they already have. No fighting, no danger. Just tell us what they see in buildings they already work in. It's risky. If Brunarelli finds out, he won't, because he doesn't see them. Just like you didn't see me for 2 years. The barb landed. His jaw tightened. These people have been invisible their entire lives. That's their advantage. You're talking about espionage using housekeepers. I'm talking about using every resource available instead of carpet bombing a neighborhood because it's expedient. He stood, paced. I could see the war in his expression, between the brutal efficiency that had kept him alive and something newer, something I'd maybe planted. If I agree to this, you're not going into the field. You coordinate from here. Matteo, non-negotiable. You recruit, you organize, but you don't leave this compound. Brunarelli already wants you dead. I won't make it easier for him. It wasn't ideal, but it was movement. Fine. And if this doesn't work, if your invisible network can't deliver what I need, we do this my way. Full assault, no mercy. It'll work. How can you be so sure? Because I was invisible too. I know exactly how much these people see when no one thinks they're watching. The next 48 hours were a blur. Phone calls to people I'd met at the community center. Maria, who cleaned offices in the Port Authority building. Jose, who did maintenance at Brunarelli's primary warehouse. Carmen, who delivered laundry to properties throughout the Port District. I explained carefully. Observation only. What time did people arrive? How many? What vehicles? Any conversations overheard, security weaknesses noticed. $500 per useful piece of information. More for critical intelligence. They agreed. Not just for the money, though that helped, but because I'd helped them first, spent Sundays translating documents and teaching their children English. Because I was one of them. Even if I lived in a mansion now, the information came fast. Jose reported Brunarelli visited the South Warehouse every Tuesday at 9 a.m., always with the same 4 guards. Maria overheard meetings about a shipment arriving Thursday, detailed the security protocols. Carmen mapped the entire facility layout from memory, marking weak points in the perimeter. Within 72 hours, we had more intelligence than Mateo's surveillance team had gathered in months. He spread the new information across the war table, studying it with intensity that bordered on reverence. This is remarkable. He looked up at me. Your people noticed things my professionals missed, because your professionals were looking for threats. My people were just doing their jobs and remembering details. It changes everything. We can hit the North Warehouse when Brunarelli's at the South location. Minimal casualties, maximum impact. Avoid the civilian housing entirely. Relief flooded through me. So we're not bombing neighborhoods? Not today. He pulled me against him. Surprising gentleness after hours of military planning. You did good, Camilla. Better than good. You showed me something I'd forgotten. What's that? That the people no one notices are sometimes the most dangerous weapons in the room. I thought about myself, cleaning his library while planning saved his life, about all the invisible workers who'd just helped plan a counterstrike, about power that came not from violence but from information, community, connection. We're not weapons, I said quietly. We're people. That's the difference. His kiss was answer enough. The strike happened 2 days later. Surgical precision, based on intelligence from people Brunarelli had never thought to fear. His North Warehouse was hit during the Tuesday meeting window. Most of his organization was elsewhere, exactly as Jose had predicted. Casualties. Minimal. Brunarelli's supply chain. Crippled. Message sent. Fontanelli had eyes everywhere. When Matteo returned, bloodied but victorious, he found me in his study. Pulled me close despite the combat dirt and sweat. Your way worked. Our way, I corrected. We did this together. Partners? I met his gaze. Partners. And for the first time since this war began, I believed we might actually win it. The plan was perfect on paper. Hit Brunarelli's main depot at dawn, cripple his supply lines, end the war before it consumed us all. Intelligence from Camilla's network had given us everything we needed. Guard rotations, entry points, even the security codes. Too perfect. I stood in the war room at midnight, studying the layout one more time. Something nagged at me, an instinct honed by 20 years of survival in a world where mistakes meant body bags. My phone buzzed. Victor, one of my most trusted operatives, deeply embedded in neutral territory. Boss, we have a problem. I stepped away from the table, lowered my voice. Talk. Word on the street is Brunarelli's been expecting an attack. He's been feeding false intel through channels, trying to draw you out. The depot might be bait. Ice ran through my veins. How reliable is this? 80%. My source risked his life getting this to me. I ended the call, mind already racing through implications. If the depot was bait, what was the real target? Then it hit me with terrible clarity. Me out of the mansion meant Camilla vulnerable. Brunarelli didn't want territory anymore. He wanted leverage. He wanted her. Change of plans. I turned to Enzo and my lieutenants. We're staying here. Enzo frowned. Boss, we've been planning this for days. It's a trap. Brunarelli wants me at that depot so he can hit the mansion with reduced defenses. We're not giving him that satisfaction. So we abort? No. We send a small team to maintain appearances. Make it look like I took the bait. But I'm staying here with full defensive force. When Brunarelli comes, we'll be ready. Understanding dawned across their faces. You're setting a counter-trap. He thinks he's been clever. Let's show him what clever actually looks like. I woke Camilla at 2 a.m. She sat up instantly, reading the tension in my face. What's wrong? Brunarelli's coming. Tonight. Here. I handed her a vest, Kevlar reinforced. Put this on. Don't argue. To her credit, she didn't. Just pulled the vest over her nightshirt and stood. What do you need me to do? Stay in the reinforced corridor. Sophia knows the protocols. If shooting starts, you follow her orders exactly. Matteo? Please. I cupped her face, memorizing features I'd grown to need more than air. I can't fight if I'm worried about you. Let me protect you this time. She nodded, but I saw the fear in her green eyes. Not for herself. For me. Come back to me, she whispered. Always. The attack came at 3:47 a.m. 20 vehicles, maybe 60 men, hitting from 3 sides simultaneously. Brunarelli had committed everything to this assault, believing I'd left the mansion vulnerable. He was wrong. We were waiting. Defensive positions fortified, every entry point covered, guards at triple strength. When his men breached the outer walls, they walked into a kill box. Gunfire erupted. Controlled, precise, devastating. My men were trained for exactly this scenario. We'd war-gamed mansion defense 100 times. Brunarelli's force was good, but ours was better in fighting on home ground. Still, numbers mattered. They pushed hard, using overwhelming firepower to advance through the grounds. Explosions rocked the east wing. Glass shattered, alarms screaming. I coordinated from the central position, radio in one ear, gun in my hand. Enzo commanded the north perimeter, Victor the south. We were holding, but barely. Then I saw him. Brunarelli himself, advancing through the garden with his personal guard. The old bastard had come to finish this personally. He's mine, I told Enzo. Hold the perimeter. I moved through corridors I'd walked 1,000 times, every corner familiar. My home, my territory, my advantage. Brunarelli was making for the residential wing, looking for Camilla, just as I'd predicted. But he'd have to go through me first. We met in the entrance hall where this had all started, where Camilla had screamed at me not to start my car. Fitting, somehow. Matteo. He smiled, weapon raised. I knew you'd stay. You've gone soft. Protecting that little maid like she actually matters. She matters more than you'll ever understand. Then this will hurt more when I take her. He fired. I dove behind the marble column, returned fire. Combat wasn't elegant at close range. It was violent, desperate. Whoever made fewer mistakes survived. His guard went down first. 2 shots. Center mass. Then it was just Brunarelli and me, circling in a hall decorated with blood and spent casings. You can't win this, he said. Even if you kill me, my organization will come for her. For everyone you care about. Your organization will be too busy saving themselves. The FBI has been very interested in our recent intelligence sharing. His expression flickered. Doubt. Fear. I'd already made the call 2 days ago. Offered federal prosecutors everything we had on Brunarelli's operations in exchange for immunity on specific charges. They jumped at it. Brunarelli just didn't know yet that his entire empire was about to collapse. We traded fire. My shoulder burned where a bullet grazed it. His leg buckled where I'd hit him. Old men playing violent games, too stubborn to admit we should have died years ago. Then I heard Camilla scream. Everything stopped. My heart, my breath. Every thought except getting to her. Brunarelli smiled through blood-stained teeth. Sounds like my men found her after all. I ran. Left Brunarelli bleeding in the entrance hall. Ran toward her voice. Found her in the north corridor. One of Brunarelli's men dragging her by the arm, gun to her head. Stay back, Fontanelli, or I paint the walls with her brain. Camilla wasn't crying. Wasn't begging. Her eyes met mine and I saw calculation. She was planning something. Then she moved. A sharp elbow to the man's ribs, exactly where Sophia had taught her during those self-defense lessons I'd insisted on. His grip loosened just enough. She twisted, dropped her weight, used his own momentum against him. The gun went off. I fired simultaneously. The man crumpled. Camilla stood there, breathing hard, unhurt. Sophia's a good teacher. Pride flooded through me, mixed with lingering terror. You're supposed to stay in the safe corridor. He broke through. Had to improvise. Enzo's voice crackled over the radio. Boss, perimeter secure. Hostiles neutralized or retreating. Brunarelli? Still breathing. Send medics to the entrance hall. We found him there, bleeding from multiple wounds but alive. His eyes tracked us with hatred and grudging respect. Go ahead, he rasped. Finish it. You've won. I raised my weapon. One shot, end this forever. No more threat to Camilla, to my organization, to everything I'd built. But I saw her face, saw the woman who'd argued for mercy, for justice, for something beyond endless violence. I lowered the gun. Call an ambulance, I told Enzo, and call my FBI contact. Tell them Salvatore Brunarelli is ready to discuss cooperation in exchange for protection from his former associates. Shock registered on Brunarelli's face. You're letting me live? I'm letting the justice system handle you. You'll testify against every member of the 'Ndrangheta in Florida. You'll spend whatever years you have left in witness protection, cut off from everything you built. That's worse than a bullet. Camilla's hand found mine. Squeezed once. Approval. Besides, I added, looking at the woman who'd changed everything, someone recently taught me that true strength isn't about how much violence you can inflict. It's about choosing something better when you have the power to destroy. The ambulance came. Federal agents not far behind. Brunarelli was loaded onto a stretcher, already negotiating his surrender in exchange for protection. As dawn broke over the mansion, Camilla and I stood in the ruins of the entrance hall. Bullet holes in marble. Blood on pristine floors. But alive. Together. You chose mercy, she said quietly. I chose us. There's a difference. She turned into my arms, and I held her like I'd never let go. The war wasn't over, not completely. There would be trials, testimony, reorganization, but the worst was past. We'd survived. More than that, we'd won without losing ourselves in the process. That was worth more than any territory, any empire, any amount of blood spilled in the name of power. That was everything. 3 months felt like a lifetime and a heartbeat all at once. The mansion had been rebuilt, stronger than before. Brunarelli's testimony had dismantled the 'Ndrangheta's Florida operations, earning Matteo cautious respect from other families and a tentative peace he hadn't known in years. The port territory was finally, definitively his. But none of that mattered as much as the woman walking through airport arrivals, frail but alive. I ran to her. Years of distance collapsing in an embrace that smelled like home and hospital antiseptic. Mama held me tight, tears streaming down her weathered face. Minha filha, let me look at you. She pulled back, studying me with eyes that had always seen too much. You're different, stronger, and in love, I think. Heat flooded my cheeks. Mama, Don't lie to your mother. I know that look. Same one your grandmother had when she talked about your grandfather. Her gaze moved past me to where Matteo stood at a respectful distance, flanked by Enzo and 2 guards. Is that him? The man who saved my life? He saved both our lives. Multiple times. I took her hand. Come meet him. Matteo looked nervous, an expression I'd never seen on him before. This man who commanded empires through force of will was anxious about meeting a 62-year-old woman with cancer. Mrs. Fontino, it's an honor. He extended his hand formally. Mama ignored it, studying his face with the intensity of someone reading souls. You love my daughter. Not a question. Matteo didn't flinch. More than I have words for. Good, because if you hurt her, cancer or not, I will find a way to make you regret it. A smile broke across his face, genuine and warm. I believe you would. Now. I'm told there's a mansion with a guest suite that has my name on it, and I'm exhausted from the flight. Camilla, help your old mother to the car. Dinner that night was surreal. Mama at one end of the table, Matteo at the other. Me caught between my 2 worlds trying to reconcile. Sophia had prepared Brazilian dishes, a gesture that made Mama cry grateful tears. "Tell me how you met," Mama said over the main course. The real story, not whatever sanitized version Camilla gave me on the phone. I looked at Mateo. He looked at me. Then we told her everything. The shadow in the garage, the bomb, the war that followed. She listened without interrupting, face growing more serious with each revelation. When we finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached across the table, took both our hands. My daughter has always had the instinct to run toward suffering instead of away from it. When she was 8, she found a dog hit by a car. Everyone told her to leave it, that it was dying anyway. She sat with that dog for 6 hours until a veterinarian came. The dog lived. Mama squeezed my hand. She chose you not because you're powerful or wealthy, Mateo. She chose you because she saw something worth saving. Don't prove her wrong. I won't, he promised. And I believed him. The next days fell into a routine that felt almost normal. Mama's treatment continued at Blackwell, her response exceeding doctors' expectations. I spent mornings with her, afternoons helping Mateo with legitimate business operations, evenings in his arms planning a future that felt increasingly possible. But something was missing. A restlessness I couldn't name, growing with each passing day. Mateo noticed, of course. He noticed everything about me now. Talked to me. We were in his study, late evening, city lights spreading below us like fallen stars. Something's bothering you. I don't know how to explain it. I set down the financial report I'd been pretending to read. Everything is perfect. Mama's getting better. We're together. The war is over, but I feel empty. He moved from behind his desk, sat beside me on the leather couch. Empty how? Like I'm just existing. I'm not the maid anymore, but I'm not anything else either. I'm just Matteo Fontanelli's girlfriend who lives in his mansion and waits for him to come home from running his empire. The words tumbled out. I love you, but I need to be more than someone you love. I need purpose. Something that's mine. Understanding dawned in his eyes. What do you want? I don't know. That's the problem. Then let me ask differently. He took my hands, turned me to face him fully. If you could build anything, do anything, what would it be? Forget my world, my limitations. Just you, Camilla. What does your dream look like? The answer came immediately, like it had been waiting for permission to exist. A veterinary clinic. In Little Havana or Liberty City. Somewhere people can't afford the expensive clinics, where animals suffer because their owners have to choose between medicine and rent. The vision crystallized as I spoke. Free or sliding scale. Staffed by people from the community. A real practice where I could use my degree, help animals, employ people who need work, build something that actually matters. Then we'll build it. I blinked. Just like that? Just like that. You want a clinic, we'll open a clinic. You want 10 clinics, we'll open 10. He cupped my face. You think I didn't notice how you light up when you're treating Dante? How you come alive with purpose? I've been waiting for you to figure out what you needed. Now you have. Mateo, veterinary clinics don't exactly fit the profile of your business interests. No, they're better. Legitimate, useful, exactly the kind of operation I need to balance the darker parts of my portfolio. His thumb brushed my cheekbone. And they're yours. Completely yours. I provide the capital and protection. You build the dream. Deal? Tears blurred my vision. Deal. 2 months later, I stood in front of a renovated building in Little Havana, ribbon in hand, surrounded by people from the community I'd spent years serving. The sign above the door read, Fontino Veterinary Clinic, serving all animals, all families. Mateo stood beside me, uncomfortably formal in a suit despite the Miami heat. Enzo and his security team formed a discreet perimeter. Mama sat in the front row, healthy enough to attend, beaming with pride. This clinic represents more than veterinary care, I said to the small crowd. It represents what's possible when we take care of each other. When we remember that the most vulnerable among us, whether they have 2 legs or 4, deserve dignity and compassion. Thank you all for being here. Now, let's get to work. The applause was genuine, warm. As people filed in to tour the facility, Sophia appeared at my elbow, envelope in hand. "The staff asked me to give you this." I opened it, confused. Inside was a petition, signed by every person who worked at the mansion. It requested that I be officially recognized as a state manager with authority over household operations and staff. "They respect you," Sophia said quietly. "Not because you're with Matteo, because of who you are. What you did during the attack, how you treat everyone equally. They want you to lead them, officially." I looked at Matteo. He smiled. "I signed it too. Bottom of page 2. You knew about this?" Sophia consulted me. I approved immediately. "You've been running the household better than anyone in years anyway. Might as well make it official." That evening, after the clinic had closed and Mama had returned to the mansion to rest, Matteo and I found ourselves in the library. The same room where I'd seen the shadow that started everything, where I'd spent countless invisible nights cleaning shelves. Now we stood together, planning expansion to a second clinic, discussing staffing needs, dreaming bigger than I'd ever allowed myself before. "Thank you," Matteo said suddenly. "For that morning. For screaming at me not to start my car. You've thanked me before. Not for this. Not for everything that came after." He pulled me close. "You saved my life that morning. But you've spent every day since teaching me how to actually live it. How to choose something beyond violence and fear. How to build instead of just protect. You've given me a future I didn't know I could have." I reached up, traced the scar above his eyebrow. "You gave me something too. You saw me when I was invisible. You valued me when I thought I was worthless. You protected me but also let me be dangerous when I needed to be. We saved each other, Matteo. That's what partners do." "Partners," he repeated, like testing the word. "I like that better than any other label we could use." "Better than girlfriend?" "Much better. Partners implies equality, shared purpose, building something together rather than one person following the other." He kissed me, soft and sure. "Is that what we are? Partners building something new?" I looked around the library, at the books I'd once dusted without reading, at the window where I'd seen a shadow that changed everything, at the man who'd finally taught me that being seen was worth the danger that came with it. That's exactly what we are. Outside, the mansion grounds glowed with security lights. Guards patrolled, protecting the empire Matteo had built through blood and strategy. But inside this room, wrapped in his arms, I felt the future taking shape. Not just survival, not just safety, something better. Something built on trust and respect, and the knowledge that true strength came from choosing compassion when you had power to destroy. We'd both been invisible in our own ways. Him, hiding humanity behind the mask of a Mafia boss. Me, hiding competence behind the uniform of a maid. Now we were seen. By each other, by the world, by ourselves. And that was worth every danger, every battle, every moment of fear. Because being truly seen by the person you love was the rarest treasure of all. And we'd fought too hard to ever take it for granted again.